anyone if you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Ashraf Safan. I'm E-MBA graduate 2018. I was very lucky to be one of the team of the E-MBA group. Actually, nowadays they are my family and friends. I work in the field of tourism. I own a company called رباعية Travel. عندي شركة اسمها رباعية Travel عشان احنا 4 اخوات. والحمد لله we were doing a great job before Corona. Inshallah, we will survive till after Corona and continue inshallah.
Inshallah. Good luck بإذن الله.
Thank you.
Hani, Dr. Hani, do you see your students on class هنا? Can you check how much attendance, because we might want to begin on 6:05 مثلا?
Yeah, sure. I think 70 or 80% of the students are already on board. Yeah.
Okay.
And they are joining, yeah, as we speak.
All right. Amr Bakri's doctor. We have an MD with us هنا. Amr, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Amr al-Bakri. I am a doctor. I'm a neurosurgeon. I work at Zagazig University. I am a lecturer. Actually, I'm interested in studying business.
And I just convinced her to not come back.
Hi, how are you? And actually, I want to thank Dr. Sherwat for this opportunity. And I remember on my first day, she told me a word that I kept in mind during these 2 semesters, and it really differed for me. يعني من البروسبكتيف اللي كنت ببص بيه على الأمور يعني. شكرا مستر محمد إن حضرتك معانا النهارده. شكرا.
شكرا يا حبيبي.
We want to thank Dr. Hani Gnina again for doing the invitation, and Mr. Mohammed Domty for being here.
Yeah, I can go next. My name is Kamal. I'm the HR Administration Director at Spinneys Egypt. So I think we work closely with your company.
Very relevant.
Yes. So I'm quite interested to hear what you'll be telling us today. Plus, I'm taking the economics class with Dr. Hani. So he's really, he gave us a lot of new concepts. So I can't wait to see how we're using that in real life. So thank you for being with us today.
Great. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Sarah Al-Odi. I work in the technology industry. I work at Oracle as a business development consultant. And I have a heavy engineering background, but decided lately to shift to business a bit. And Dr. Shwet, you're on mute. Yes.
Yeah, I was telling my daughter to lower the TV, but that's I just.
Yeah. Okay. And I've been concerned with the digital transformation ever since I graduated from computer engineering.
Farah's one of our very excellent candidates that we're very happy to have for this freshman year. But Omar?
Thank you.
Right. I think we have enough number to begin the session on time and to stick to the structure of the session. Again, will allow for a good 20-minute delivery from Mr. Mohammed Domty's side, and Q&A handled through Dr. Hani Gnina. Let me just please allow me to introduce Mr. Mohammed Domty. He is one of our own AUC alumni undergraduate. In 2004, he did his BA in business administration. And since then, he worked in the family business. He began in 2004 as the director of planning and follow-up, all right, till 2010, where he became deputy managing director for Domty between 2010 to 2000. He's now vice chairman of the board of directors until now, from 2016. And the company grew since he joined from 100 million pounds to 1,700,000,000 Egyptian pounds, okay? Not only that, Taban, and this is the reason probably why Mr. Hani Gnina is definitely bringing with us Mr. Mohammed Domty, is that he led the process of what we call public offering of the company in the Egyptian Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange in 2016. Something unheard of for the cheese company in Egypt to offer, an Egyptian cheese company to offer their shares locally and regionally and internationally طبعا is a big deal. فطبعا the topic will be geared to the most part towards this experience, and we were all very keen to listen to it hopefully. But no one can deny طبعا the current situation we're in terms of turmoil and disruption, especially towards imports and exports. And so I want to highlight another side of Mr. Domty in terms of he's the board member in Export Food Council, Porters Council in Giza, Agriculture Development Company, which is export agriculture. There's a lot طبعا to be discussed in terms of disruptions in مش عايزة أقول supply chain يعني طبعا بس in the import export trade of companies products يعني مش بس ال IP مش بس stock trade. So the floor is yours, Mr. Domty. Please يعني for the sake of interaction, raise your hand using the button on the Zoom, and there will be a Q&A after probably a 20-minute Mr. Domty had done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherwet.
Would you please all بس يعني mute yourselves and close the camera? I think it's better for the connections. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherwet, Marwa, and Hani for giving me this opportunity to be with you all in this online session. I will start with a brief presentation on the timeline of the value creation of Domty, which is a family business, of course, initiated by my father 30 years ago. The presentation now, I think you're all seeing that. We started in 1990 with the concept of the white cheese in the Egyptian market. The white cheese is a very famous, of course, meal for the Egyptians. It was a totally unbranded product, used to be sold unbranded in the retail and supermarkets. So we were the first to introduce the idea of a branded white cheese in the Egyptian market in 1990. And this was a big innovation at that time in terms of branding. In 1991, we were the first to introduce the mozzarella cheese in the Egyptian market, which was at that time totally unknown. In 2005, I came into the company. It was, our sales at that time was around 140 million Egyptian pounds, which is at that time was around 20 million US dollars. Our product portfolio at that time was only the white cheese. At that time, Americana, which is one of the biggest players in the region in the restaurants and food and beverage in the Middle East, acquired Greenland. Greenland was our main competitor at that time. And they came to us on the idea of acquiring Domty and forming a big company between, a big merge between Domty and Greenland. That was the first year of my work at Domty. And we reached nearly a deal at that time with a valuation of 20 million US dollar back at that time. For some reason, the deal did not go at the end, and we shifted to sell. We had two factories at that time, so we sold one of them as machinery and assets for Juhayna. And then we started improving and making the turnaround of the company. So our first milestone in the growth of the company was in 2007, where we introduced the carton pack cheese. We were not the first to introduce the carton pack cheese in the Egyptian market, but we claimed that we were the first to introduce new concepts into the carton pack cheese. The difference between the carton pack cheese and the plastic tubs or the loose cheese is the shelf life. And this gives, of course, more ability for the company to penetrate in rural areas and go into smaller shops, which explode the market of the white cheese in Egypt starting 2007 and going forward. 2008 was our first excitement in the white cheese market. We introduced a new flavor, which was the cheese with olives. And it was a big hit at that time. and it drove the sales of the company more than 15% at that time, and it was a new initiative and a new innovation in the boring white cheese market in Egypt at that time. 2010, we started to produce smaller SKUs. So we had 250 ml and 500 ml. So we said, why don't we innovate into smaller pack? So we started with 125 grams to be able to cater the on-the-go consumption of the workers and the taxi drivers and whatever. And it was also a very big hit at that time. Then we were faced by the revolution in 2011. And I think that was the turning point of the company. Because at that point in time, the company was at number 4 as in the position in the cheese market. The revolution came in 2011. Everyone, especially the two biggest players at that time, which were Greenland and Arab Dairy, Panda, they were both the market leaders. They had a vision that the market will collapse and that the economy will collapse. We had a different point of view at that time. We thought that all the strikes and the workers were given more money, and that will refresh the market and will give the Egyptian consumer more purchasing power. So instead of stopping our investments, we started increasing our capacities in a heavy manner, which was totally opposite to the direction of many of the players in the food industry in general, not the cheese industry. And since 2011, we've seen year to year 25 to 30% growth on the top line of the company coming from our vision at that hard time. And by the end of 2011, we took the lead in the market of the white cheese after being number 3 and number 4. In 2012, we were approached by Bongrain. Bongrain is one of the top 20 cheese producers worldwide. And at that time, we first saw a very high valuation for the company. At that time, we were offered above 600 million Egyptian pounds, which is at that point in time was around 80 or 90 million dollars to take a minority stake in the company. But we said at that time that we still see a value that's even bigger than that, and that we want to proceed with our growth plans, and we see more value that we could create for the brand of Domty and for our story. 2013, we introduced the juice. Juice is produced on the same Tetra Pak packaging, Tetra Pak machinery. So the investment decision was not hard. We took that decision to give ourselves the confidence that the Domty brand is extendable beyond the white cheese. And in less than 1 year time, we've been able to capture an 8% market share in the juice market, which is a very, very competitive market given the existence of big brands in this sector like Al-Mara'i, Beatty and Juhayna, and at that time also Faragalla and Rani. 2014, we have been approached again by Irish Dairy Board. Irish Dairy Board is one of the top 10 in the dairy industry worldwide. They came to us, they've seen the huge growth that we've made, and they offered us at that point in time near $200 million to take a majority stake in the company. At that point in time, of course, we've seen in less than 10 years from 2005, the Americana deal to 2014, we've seen our value multiplied by 10 from $20 million to $200 million as valuation. So at that point in time, most of the original shareholders, which is the family, of course, they said, okay, let's sell this business and cash out. And I think this is an opportunity that no one can refuse, especially that the political scene at that time in Egypt was not very pleasant. The 2013, there was the Muslim Brotherhood were thrown out, and things were not stable on the ground, and start of rumors that there might be a devaluation in the currency and so and so. I took the decision on my personal aspect that we will continue, and that I have a dream since I was in the university that I want my company to go public, and I think we're near at that point in time. With the size of the company at 2014 and 2015, we exceeded 1 billion Egyptian pounds in turnover. So I said, let's take a risk and get prepared for an IPO. And that's what we've done in 2015. We've apologized for the guys of Irish Dairy Board. We said we have an emotional attachment to this company, and that we don't want to give up the majority stake in this company, and we want to go public. And we signed with EFG Hermes to start our plan and our road for the IPO in 2015, which is one of my busiest and happiest year in my life. 2015, I took huge experience. The IPO is a very complicated procedure, yet it gives you all the aspects of the business, from meeting top-notch investors to top-notch lawyers and investment banking and everything. We restructured the company internally. We got a new marketing director, a new investment relation director. We've made the story to be said to the investors, and a long-term business plan to be able to launch the IPO by the beginning of 2016, which we've been able to reach that point. In 22nd of March 2016, we've been able to launch the IPO at a valuation of $263 million at that time. The good news that we've been able to deliver what we promised for our original shareholders. The bad news that the second month after our IPO, this started the problem of the currency exchange in Egypt, and the dollar started appreciating versus the Egyptian pound, and we started having black market. And of course, 70% of our raw materials are imported. We only export 5 or 6, maximum 7% of our turnover. So we are always in need of dollar. The exchange rate is very essential in our business. So we started a real struggle after the IPO. Everyone questioned our performance. Many of the investors that came with us said that that's bad luck that you're having now the exchange rate in your plan at 8.8 at that time, and after a couple of months the black market went up to 15 and 16 and even 19 and 20 at some point. So we had a real tough couple of years, or 1 year and a half. The company incurred losses at some point in time at the moment of devaluation, because we had pending loans or pending working capital in dollars. So it was a huge experience and a tough experience, but the innovation continued and we were always thinking of doing some sort of innovation to try to get out of this situation and this problem. And luckily enough, we've been able to introduce by the end of 2018 the Domty sandwich, which was our first entry into the snacks business and the bakery business. And alhamdulillah, it was a big success for the company in terms of regaining the confidence in ourselves first, and being able to maneuver at such tough time. And also it gave a new scope for the brand of Domty, going into a new age group, a new kind of consumer, smaller age group. And I think this product was the highlight of the food industry in Egypt in general in the last couple of years, and we've been able to prove ourselves again that innovation is always a key to get out of the struggle and a key for growing the company. And now, alhamdulillah, things starting the end of 2017, actually, we started to pick up slowly but surely. And then by the end of 2018, and with the launch of the Domty sandwich, we've been able to regain our position, at least in terms of the growth, the top line versus competition, and in the food industry in general in Egypt. And as I said, it gave us huge confidence that the company could be able to launch new product and be able to have its remark and its mark in new markets that we're not used to. We've been always looked at as a household name, an old brand, a cheese brand, but I think now we've been able to prove that we can cater all the taste of the Egyptian consumers, starting from the small age group till the older age group, and the brand now became more refreshing and better, much better than before. So mainly that was our timeline, the value creation timeline of the Domty brand, or the company, since it started in 1990 till now. This year we're celebrating our 30th year anniversary. And here are some takeaways that I always put for myself, and I would like to share it with you guys. Number one rule is to dream big. I entered this company with a dream to have an initial public offering. I went to my cousin, who was the CEO of EFG. I told him I want to take my company public. He asked me how much is the turnover of the company. I told him 140 million. He told me multiply this by 10 and come to me. This word is still ringing in my ears because I was very keen to reach my dream, and alhamdulillah, I've been able to reach it. Second thing is to innovate. I think all over the years, the breakthrough of the company came from innovation. We don't imitate. We hate the fact that many companies take that for granted, that they see a successful company and they just imitate their model and imitate what they're doing. Domty is always the first mover in any market it goes to. Innovate again, because innovation is not only putting yourself in the market, but for continuous growth, you need to continue innovating in this market, and again, keep innovating, because at any struggle that you will have in the lifetime of the brand or your work, always innovation is always a key. Innovation is not always in tech or in food industries. Even innovating in the simplest job that you can do, innovating in being special in what you do, is always a key factor for success. Kill your heart is something that's very important, especially in family business, because I was exposed to a family business where many relatives were there in the company, where many friends were there in the company. I just needed to kill my heart in order to have a proper organization, a proper professional organization. Yet you need to trust your guts, because at some point in time, just killing your heart is not the right thing to do. Sometimes some decisions that will appeal on paper that it's right, it might be at the end not right. Yani, for example, the cheese sandwich was my idea, and on paper it was not doable. It was not a cheese company that will go into the snacks business. From a marketing point of view, it was not the right thing to do. From a financial point of view, it was risky. Yet I trusted my guts at that time, and we launched, and I think it was successful. always work with full speed. No one will wait for you. The opportunity that we will not get, or you will be lazy to get today, someone else will take it. That's a general rule. If we were not working with full speed at the time of the revolution, where everyone was afraid to go with his car in the street, if we were not doing so at that time, we wouldn't have been there now. I remember we were signing the juice factory while Ahdath Muhammad Mahmoud was there. So, and I remember that day that my father told me, "What the hell are we doing? The country is collapsing, and we're signing a new factory." And I told him, "Let's stick to our concept. This country is 100 million. They will continue consuming, and this is a turbulence period that will end soon, and we need to get the best out of it." You're always wrong till you prove the opposite. That's something that the new generation is always stubborn. They're always sticking to their point of view, and they don't give any doubt. And they want always to prove that they are right. I have the opposite. I'm totally the opposite of that. I always start as that I'm wrong, and I'm trying to prove my point of view, but without stubbornness and without harming the business. Read and learn, that's a very, very, very important aspect. I'm now 37 years old, and I'm doing now my executive MBA. I should be hopefully graduating in 3 months' time from IE in Madrid. I always read, I always learn from my mistakes. I always travel to see new products and new initiatives, and I always open to new ideas from learning from the experience of others. So that's a very important takeaway from me. Admit your mistakes and don't be ashamed. My history is full of mistakes. I'm now presenting my achievements, but of course I've made big mistakes, and of course I've made I lost many opportunities, but at the end of the day, I'm not ashamed with that. At the end of the day, the final outcome is the most important. As a vice CEO and running the operation of the company, I'm taking on a daily basis more than 30-40 decisions, very minimal. But at the end of the day, if you're taking per year 3,000 decisions, if you're taking half of them wrong, it's not important. But the most important that you admit your mistakes, and that the big decisions should be done in a proper way and correctly. So I'm always not ashamed from my mistakes. Don't run when you lose. That's a very important aspect in our crisis after the flotation of the Egyptian pounds. We were always attacked by investors and being requested for phone calls, and the good thing that we were always showing up. We never failed to answer any kind of question from investors. We always went to conferences. We always confront, and we always put a plan for the execution plan for the turnaround that we're making. And I think people appreciate that when you make a mistake, you don't run, and you stand and admit your mistake and explain your turnaround. That gives credibility for yourself as a manager and also for the company. Don't look behind to regret, and look only to learn. I think that's obvious that in any deal that we've refused, whether Americana or Bongrain or Irish Dairy Board, at some point in time, I was regretting not finalizing, and things were not going smooth and everything. But I always tell myself that I should not regret. I should only learn from the mistakes I've done in general, in the least thing. And I just move forward without regretting, because regretting will always make you stand still and don't move any way forward. So simply that's it for me. I hope I did not take so much time, and I will leave now the floor to any questions. Of course, the questions will be a big part of it on the situation now, and I'm happy to have any sort of questions. Please.
Hani, please take the lead for this, and you have the participants. Please raise your hands on the. Click down on participants and raise your hand virtually with the. It says raise hand if you'd like. Ashraf, I see you, Safin, doing so, but we had in line Hisham Hassan in order, and.
Yes, mean so then afterwards. Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Hani. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed, so much for the presentation, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us at AUC. And I just want to say one thing before I leave the floor to questions, that I had the opportunity of knowing Mohammed over the past 5 years as an analyst, and I got to know him after he actually IPO'd the company or offered the company to be traded on the stock exchange. And I just want to say something about Mohammed in specific, and this is not a compliment. Mohammed is one of those CEOs who will not really bluff you. I cannot recall a single chance or a single moment that I had to deal with Mohammed, and he told me that things are going well even though they are not going that well. He's always down to earth. He's always facing the problem, as he's saying, and I think that has been reflected in actually corporate and his performance, on the performance of Domty over the years. So thank you for being an honest CEO, and thank you for being socially responsible, Mohammed. You never spare time actually to share your experience with students, and this is not the first time you do it, so that's very rare as well. And with that, I can leave the floor actually to questions. And I see Hisham Hassan, you're raising your hand, so please go ahead.
Hello, Mohammed. This is Hisham Hassan. I am executive MBA student, the fourth one. Started last year. Hopefully, I will graduate next year. I have two specific questions. The first one about how is your sales in the last 4 weeks, and the second question is what are the challenges you are facing for export? I have to say that I'm a big fan. Maybe I cannot remember when I first time to go to the supermarket, say Alib Domty. So yeah, I'm a big fan for the trade.
Okay, great, thank you. Sales in the last 4 weeks, it differs from product to product. So for the staple products like the white cheese in carton packs, especially doing well, given that the people are stocking up for the curfew and also for charity and the approach of Ramadan. On the fresh side, it's slower. On the cheese sandwich, of course, with the stoppage of the schools and universities, things are slower than it was before. So as a balance, we're not, as total, we're not that affected, but some products went up and some products went down. That's on the local market. In terms of channels of distribution, also supermarkets and key chains and hypermarkets are doing well. Other channels like the tourism and the catering are collapsing, of course. We had a big part of our business going to hotels and cafes and restaurants, so this is of course collapsing right now. So as I said, as I will explore, and of course I'm expecting questions on that front, we are exploring a new situation. We're revisiting our position on a weekly basis. I'm not trying to exaggerate, but on a daily basis, we're seeing new trends in the market. We cannot predict anything because this is a situation that no one has ever seen in the whole world. So as I said, the situation right now is, as I told you, on the export level, things are slowing down, of course. Given the lockdown that's there, we export around 5 to 6% of our total portfolio, mainly to Arab countries. Arab countries are affected given that most of them are locked down, like Saudi Arabia, like Kuwait, like UAE, Jordan, Libya also. So the situation is more chaotic in the exports than the local market, but as I said, it's not the big weight for the company.
Thank you, very clear. Thank you.
We have a question from Yasmin Sudan. Yasmin, please go ahead.
Hello, I really want to thank you for your presentation. It's very inspiring and for giving us the opportunity to hear the timeline of the company. I actually have two questions regarding the presentation, not the current situation, because I noticed that there was much of risk-taking financially, because when you mentioned 2011, all other companies were struggling and actually investors were going out of the market, and I can see that you have invested more, and even after the IPO, you introduced the Domty sandwich, which was when you were also struggling financially. So I want to ask you, how do you take these risky decisions, or when everyone should tell you or would advise you not to?
Okay, so contradicting to my personality, I'm a very aggressive when it comes to taking risks in business. So my personality in general in life, I'm not a risk taker, but in business, I'm a real risk taker. High risk, high gain. So as I said, at some point in time, I need to trust my guts. In 2011, the company was not listed at that time. So, so it was a decision by the original shareholders. Whether to invest or to de-invest and shrink the capacity. So at that point in time, as I said, we had not the feeling, but on the real ground, the wages went up to 30 and 40%. So the worker that was taking at that point in time 750 pounds per month, when he will go up to 1,000 pounds, which is a 25% increase, he will not go get a car or get a house or anything. He will just increase his food consumption, and that's what happened. And the only thing that we've read that early, so it was a bit of calculated risk. It was not just a blind risk. It was a calculated risk. In 2018 with the cheese sandwich, as I said, the idea was there. From the beginning, it was just a matter of time. So as soon as we've seen ourselves stable in terms of the operation, we launched. So I did not take the decision while I was suffering, but as soon as I saw the company able to stand up, I launched the cheese sandwich. So I was not, to be honest, I couldn't have launched the cheese sandwich in 2017, because 2017 was the year that I just started to stabilize the business and get out of the red figures, because 2016 and the beginning of 2017 the company was incurring losses. So I took 2017 and the first half of 2018 just to stabilize things, and then I launched 2018. So I think this is a calculated risk. It is a risk, of course, as the nature of the brand is totally away from the snacks business. That's a risk. But again, I did not risk the company at that time. It was just a bit of calculated risk. Yet, again, it was a successful one.
Thank you, Mohammed. We have a question from Kay. Kay, please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you so much for being our speaker today and sharing everything that you know. It's been super inspiring. My question is, can you talk a little bit more about what you mean by killing your heart? And then the second question is, what motivates you?
Okay, killing my heart because I have my uncle was working in the company where I was in, and he brought me up, and I was obliged at some point in time after 1.5 years of my entrance to the company to fire him, and that was the magnified example of killing my heart. But that was the right decision to do, because he was totally against any kind of improvement in the company on many aspects. So that's my extreme example of killing my heart. But by the way, I have a very good relation with him now, because I proved him wrong, and he's a shareholder in the company, so he's happy with the cash that he took. So so that's the example of the killing my heart. What inspires me is being successful. I'm motivated. I have certain milestones in my life. One of them was taking this company public. Second thing now is to make this company the biggest food manufacturer in Egypt, and that's always what keep motivating me. Being there with you guys is some sort of motivation for me to have a story to be able to say to you guys is this is an inspiration and motivation for me.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Amr, please go ahead.
السلام عليكم. I have two questions لحضرتك في الحقيقة. In 2014, when you got this offer of the $360 million,
200 million.
200 million. How did you know it's not the time? I mean, how did you know that you're not at the peak yet? The other question is, you said that you export 7% of your product.
Yes.
So أنا عندي اعتقاد يعني I always feel that the companies like to export more of their product because it generates more profit than what's being sold here. You could comment on this, please.
Okay, the offer of the Irish Dairy Board, $200 million, I said that we still have an opportunity because the white cheese market at that time was growing steadily at 20%. And we still had a real demand on the product and a real growth in the market. So I think I calculated that if we've been able to maintain this growth for 2015, we will be able to easily get a decent public offering with the multiples that was there in the market at that time. When we do an IPO, we don't lose control of the company because we sell less than 50%. But when we sell to the Irish Dairy Board, we're selling majority stake of the company, so we're losing control. So the risk was worth it. It was the risk of control. And given, as I said, that we have an emotional attachment to that company and to the brand of Domty, I think the risk was calculated to avoid losing the control of the company. And the circumstances at that time was in our favor, given the growth that was happening in the white cheese market. On the export, you cannot generalize. Every company has its own portfolio of product. So our portfolio of product, the white cheese, is not famous away from Egypt. Egypt is the biggest consumer of white cheese worldwide. So you don't have markets except in the Arab world mainly. The cheese sandwich is a short shelf life product, 7 or 8 days, so you cannot export. So the nature of our product is what is the obstacle always of having a better contribution for the export from the total turnover. The question of the profitability, it's not a must. That in some markets we're doing better margin than the local market, but we have markets like Palestine, like Libya. They're all a price market, and the price war there is even tougher than the Egyptian market, and we're doing very, very minimal margins there. So it's not the idea of just grabbing US dollars or grabbing export figures, but at some point in time it's not really economical. Of course, we're always keen to increase exports, but also to some extent with the decent margin.
Thank you, Mohammed. Maysara, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
First, to begin with, of course, thank you for your time. I have two questions, if I may. The first question is, can I get to know how much does the Domty sandwich contribute to the gross profits or the gross actually sales of the company, if this is a possible question?
Yes.
And my second question is, what do you think were the key factors for the success of the sandwich? Because more or less you can look across this segment. It's kind of its own segment in the market. Many competitors and many companies of small and big sizes and even other, not to be named, competitors are even trying to tackle your success now. So what do you think are the key success factors? I believe this is something I find impressive, that you were able to dominate the market. I mean, look at the other competitors, you can see them sticking around on the shelves and your product wouldn't stay there for a day or two. It's always as fresh as it's being used up.
Okay.
So
So first of all, the contribution of sales of the cheese sandwich, we're talking around 15 to 18% now of the total turnover of the company. This is in terms of sales. In terms of what's so special about the product, of course, from the beginning is the simplicity. The product is simple. The cheese sandwich that we all eat at home, and that was the concept of the launch from the beginning, because the Egyptian snacks market or the bakery snacks was always trying to be complicated. So we launched croissant and pâtés, which is not in the Egyptian culture. The Egyptian culture is more towards the sandwich. So the simplicity of the product was the key, or the first key of success. Second is the quality. And the quality, of course, is the most important. If you have a proper quality product and fresh product, this will always have a real effect on the Egyptian consumer. Third is the distribution. And distribution is a key aspect, especially in the short shelf. Any short shelf product, distribution is a key. So I think these are the three main items: quality, distribution, and the simplicity of the product itself from the beginning. Other competitors try to imitate, and imitation is coming always from either the price, and this is not a price product, this is a quality product, and they lack the distribution. So they put the product in a as you've said, they put for a certain outlet or a kiosk 40 or 50 sandwich, while the consumption is only 10. So you will find that the product will expire and will not be that fresh, so the consumer will not be attracted to the product. I think that also the introduction of molto sandwich and that happened the last couple of months has proved that we've made our impact in this snacks business and the snacks market. That a big player like Edita, where we thought as a company that it is, of course, the leader in this industry, to go and follow your steps and imitate you in this kind of way. But they did it also with a lousy quality, or not as good as our product and not as fresh as our product. So the problem is that all the companies try to compete price. That's always the name of the game. You can compete price, but in long shelf products. So when it comes to the white cheese, the carton pack cheese, where the shelf life is 1 year, you can compete in price and make some sort of effect. But in a short shelf, it's not doable.
Okay. Congratulations and thank you again, and more success to come.
Thank you, Habib.
Hisham Ali, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So again, first of all, thank you very, very much for your time and for the inspiring presentation. I have a couple of questions. The first one, considering the current context of COVID-19, and as you said, that the stock-up behavior from the consumer, which pulling sales as we go across most of consumer goods sectors. Are you concerned that there might be a point where an inflection happens in the curve and this stock-up behavior would turn around at a point in time, causing a slowdown in sales?
Well, alhamdulillah that we have, as I said, we have a mix of staple product like the white cheese and the cheese sandwich, which is affected now. So yes, of course, if things goes the different way, we are expecting a slowdown in the white cheese. That's totally expected. But in the meanwhile, it will reflect in much higher sales in the cheese sandwich and the juice, because people will be very eager to go out and spend more time in the streets and spend more time with their friends, and hopefully schools will be back in September. So that's the good thing. And one of the things I forgot to say in my presentation, that one of the main aims of myself as a manager of this company, to have a mix of staple product like Juhayna, staple company like Juhayna, and a snacks company like Edita. So Domty is trying to offer a mix of both. So we have a staple product, which is still 55 or 60% of our total business, which is the white cheese. And we have a snacks business, which is the cheese sandwich and the juice, which is around now 30% of the business. So cheese carton pack and mozzarella cheese and creamy cheese around 65 to 70, and the snacks business from 25 to 30. So I think we're making the good balance. So yes, we're expecting, of course, if things goes back to normal, and hopefully things could go back to normal, I think we'll be having a decline in the consumption of the white cheese, but this will have an increase in the consumption of the cheese sandwich and the juice.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's one of the merits of the diversified portfolio.
Yes, exactly.
My second question is related to the period of 2018 and the devaluation of the Egyptian currency. Now, as you reflect
16.
back, yes, 2016. Sorry. When you reflect back on that period, do you think there could have been some measures that you could have done to protect the company better as a learning, or not only you, but I mean lots of the other companies in the market that suffered from the same drop? Any learning?
Of course, yes. I think I was very late in raising prices. I didn't think at any point in time that we could reach that levels of exchange rate. I remember quite well when the problem started, I thought that a double-digit exchange rate, so above 10, the whole country will collapse. I didn't expect by all means that things could go that bad. We were taking with the official rate from the banks till May 2016 or June. And after that, we've been taking the raw material and keep backlog with the banks. So I was not that alert that things could go that bad. So of course, the learning is that if at any point in time I see the exchange rate moving in the black market, I think I should react on our prices by the same speed, because I was very late, and being late made us have very big losses. At that point in time, we had more than 150 million Egyptian pounds of losses, and that was big for the company at that time.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation, Awal. And I'm a Domty loyal consumer, so I have a question regarding one of your products. I think like 10 or 15 years ago, you had a chocolate spread that was on the shelf in the supermarket, and
yes.
suddenly it disappeared. So I have a couple of questions. First of
we
all,
relaunched, by the way.
Yes, that's the question. Like with the introduction of the sandwich, I remember that everyone I knew were going to the supermarket just to buy the chocolate sandwich to remember the taste of the chocolate. But I can't find the chocolate on the shelves in big supermarkets, and it's not as popular as it was before. So there is, like, Domty fans are really wondering what happened to this and why there is not enough marketing for this product.
Okay, that's a good question. We had, on the contrast, we had negative comments on our previous chocolate product, that people were not differentiating between the product and Nutella likes. So we took a decision that this is not our field, and that we will not compete on that. So we delisted the item. It was very small in sales, by the way, but it had its loyal customers like you. So with the launch of the chocolate sandwich, we found people are very happy with the quality of the chocolate. So we said, why not we take the product back again into the market. So we launched that, I think, 6-7 months ago under the name of Choco Spread. It's doing well, but we're having a shortage in the capacity of the spread cheese in general, the creamy cheese, and we're now expanding the capacity. But yes, you are right, and I was on a call last week with our marketing team that we need to push the product. If you see today our Facebook page, we're putting cooking recipes with the Choco Spread. So in the next period, you will see more concentration on that. But to be honest, and that's always the problem of niche products in big companies. When you're talking about an operation approaching 3 billion Egyptian pounds, always the small niche products will not take the attention of the sales and the marketing. They're always concentrating on the white cheese in Tetra Pak and the cheese sandwich, the juice, the mozzarella cheese, the big SKUs that could get big money for the company. Smaller SKUs like the choco spread is not always a real focus for them. So that's my role as a top management, to always talk about, concentrate on the smaller products, the high margin products. But of course, at some point in time, I also have a misfocus, but I promise it will be in a better position in the next month, inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saran. Mohammed, we have a comment from Khaled, actually. Khaled, please go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Mohammed. Of course, thank you very much for being here. My name is Khaled Magid, Head of Training for Mercedes-Benz Egypt and Middle East. Of course, it's such a wonderful journey and success story that you have, which is having a lots of tough milestones and others that are happy milestones. The main takeaway that I have had from this story is that while the tough milestones are there, you are doing the complete opposite thing than everyone else. Like in 2011, the revolution is here. You did, everyone else is slowing down, keeping things at low profile. You did the complete opposite. 2017, fluctuation and so on of the currency, you did the complete opposite. So every time you are doing something different. My question is now, currently, at the crisis that we have, how are you doing in terms of the supply chain? Because your industry, the supply chain is very, I would say, critical thing.
Of course.
So how are you getting or overcoming this thing?
Of course, that was a main issue when the problem started. So as soon as we've seen lockdowns in some European countries, even before the curfew in Egypt, we had an executive committee meeting, and we've increased our inventory from 2 months to 3 months. And now we're increasing again to 3.5 months, given that we are seeing a bit of delay from shipments coming from many countries. And we're also seeing some delay in here in the ports of clearing the goods. We're increasing inventory. That's what we can do at the moment. So to try to secure the production. It's a very tough time, as I said. This situation is different. In the devaluation, let me be honest, I've been always exploring other countries and other markets that have the same problem of flotation and devaluation of their currency, to try to get lessons and learn things, how things can be done.
Practices.
Yes, even in the revolution, I've also started to see countries like Chile, Brazil, Argentina, all the South American countries, that they had the same scenario as what we've had. This time you're facing a situation that no one has ever had before. So that's why I'm saying that we're revisiting everything on a nearly daily basis, not even weekly, to ensure the supply of the raw material, to ensure the safety of the workers and the safety of the employees, the distribution of the company. So it's a really tough time this time. So nothing to do different, because everyone is doing a strategy that's different by nature.
Yeah, so the key thing here is to be prepared enough and make your inventory ready enough and increasing the capacity and so on. So that was the key thing here.
No, yes, and the other thing is to be on the ground, because I cannot work from home and encourage more than 4,000 employees to go and work every day and take a risk. So I go to my office every day, even if I don't have work. So I just go and sit in my office, even if I don't have anything, just to give indication for the people that I'm there. I've went into the market. I've went into our main distribution hubs for a couple of times at 6 a.m. in the morning or 7 a.m. just for the salesmen and the drivers to see me. And I've given speeches to them to try to motivate them that they're not alone there, and that they are doing a real good job, and that their duty now is not less than doctors and whoever that should be there in the street, because this is food security for the Egyptian society, and that we need to be working in this hard time. So that's that's the thing that I should do as a manager now. So I cannot work from home and just push my people to go and work every day. So that's the only thing I do right now.
Okay, thank you very much. If I may ask one more question.
Sure.
Nowadays, many businessmen are thinking what would come up next. I mean, if the situation extends, so the losses are going more and more, so
Yes.
we will lay off some people, or like other companies, maybe not in Egypt, they cut off the salary, or they will cut off wages or whatever, 20%, 30%, depends on the grade of the employee, so that we can keep the employees still, but we will reduce the salaries, which makes sense, by the way.
Sure.
And so there are many scenarios here in this area. So I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question to be asked, but what's your opinion?
In food industries, hopefully, inshallah, we can float. Because at the end of the day, it's a low risk industry. So hopefully we can float. We don't want to go into that scenarios now. Hopefully things could improve to the better. Yet I think food industries in general can float, and food industry is, as I say always, it's a low entry costs, low risk, and low return. So it's always so in the revolution we had the tourism totally stopped, automotive totally stopped, but food industries was there. So I think we can float. It's a matter of maneuvering well in this crisis.
Because no one will stop eating.
I don't like the concept to be said like that, because as I said, we have some products that are really hurt in this crisis. But I think we can be able to maneuver quite well before we go into solution that could harm the employees in any kind of sort.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Khaled. We have questions coming from Spinis by Mohammed this time. Hagar, please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for what you said about being on the floor with your workers, because I think that's very important nowadays, because we have the same issue. People are working and we can't all work from home. We need to support that.
Yes.
The second part is also related to the workers. Now, lots of factories are cutting the shifts and they're reducing the working hours. So how is this affecting your output? I mean, some suppliers, I know that they're not able to meet the orders, especially with the Ramadan heavy orders. And the second part was related slightly to what Khaled said about the supply, but I think you've answered that.
Okay, for the production and the shifts and workers, as I said, we have some of the products, the demand decreased heavily. So we're shifting or reshuffling the workers to the products that are still in good demand. So things are compensating each other. So as a company, we don't see a real problem on that so far. But of course, things could escalate at any point in time, given if we're having a total lockdown in the country or anything. So I think, as I said, we're monitoring that on a daily basis. Planning, or again, whoever will say now that he has a plan or he has a vision, he will be bluffing. We're working on a daily basis. We're working on decisions that are taken by the government suddenly, and we need to accommodate on that. So as I said, things are so far stable. But again, if anything occurs, we will act accordingly.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. We have a question from Ali.
I have a question about Domty sandwich. Domty sandwich once was launched. It made a great success that affected brunch sales and Molto and others. But a couple of weeks, the supply of Domty sandwich has dropped due to the high demand. You ask everywhere, Domty sandwich, not available. How did you solve this problem and maintained the supply needed?
It was not a supply problem. We had as I said, unexpected, alhamdulillah, success for the product. So the capacity of the machine was fulfilled in less than 1 month. So that's why you felt a shortage in the market, because we had a shortage in supply at that time. And then we expanded our capacity and got a new machinery and started to expand, because at the beginning we were only there in Cairo and Giza. And then when we got a new capacity, we started going into other places in Alexandria and Delta and Upper Egypt. So it was, as I said, unplanned demand. That's why you felt this kind of shortage.
يعني الإكسبانشن كان
it took time, of course. It took more than 5-6 months to expand, because you get machinery from abroad and you open bank facilities and you travel to choose the line and make the trials and everything. So it took more than 6 months to expand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mohammed, thank you again thank you, Mohammed, for expanding one more time during a crisis. So this is your second time to expand during a crisis. So I hope to keep on doing so. We have a question from Al-Shayma.
Sure.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for the presentation. It's really inspiring. So thank you. Just want to go back to 2016 after currency devaluation, when you said that you faced hard times. Was this the reason you decided to shift, or to go to another industry, which is the snack industry, because maybe it's less dependent on imported raw materials?
No, it has nothing to do with the devaluation. I just had the vision of the diversification of the portfolio of the company, trying to cater more age groups. Trying to go into smaller age groups, so it had nothing to do with the devaluation. The raw materials of the cheese sandwich, yes, it's not imported, but it's also related with the dollar. So the prices of the wheat, for example, when the prices globally goes up, the Egyptian wheat goes up also. So it's indirectly related to the US dollar. So it had nothing to do with the devaluation. It was just a vision to have a proper diversification. As I said, to have a mix of a staple/snacks company, which is not there in Egypt now.
Also, another question. I was under the impression that Egypt has a huge dairy industry. So it was surprising for me to know that 70% of your raw materials are imported.
Yes. No, we don't have a milk production, a proper milk production in Egypt. Economically, it's impossible to have a competitive milk production in Egypt, because we're a dry country. We don't have quite a lot of rain, so we don't have the edge of the European countries and New Zealand. So at many points in time, the prices of skim milk powder is better than the local production.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to draw your attention that we are approaching 7:30. Now it's 7:10. We have 20 more minutes, so I can take I think 3 or 4 more questions. I have Maha. Maha, please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. It's very inspiring. And I have a question. When I saw your Domty sandwich, it was like فعلا يعني إيه ده, it's a no-brainer. طبعا لازم يعملوا sandwiches. It sounded very simple, but I'm sure there is a huge innovation process going behind this. But I was interested to know about the innovation division or unit at your company. How does it work? Is it research? Is it focus groups? How do you come up with the innovative ideas that seems very simple but yet needed in the market?
Okay, sure. We don't have that R&D center like the multinationals or the big multinationals. But when it comes to cheese, we have a very good experts when it comes to initiating new flavors or new SKUs. We're working very closely with Tetra Pak. Tetra Pak is our main supplier in the cheese and in the juice to introduce new ideas into the Egyptian market. Of course, they're there in most of the globe. so they have more experience and they have more products to offer to the company. So either or, either Tetra Pak comes to us with an idea that we should test. So as soon as we get this idea and we sit with the marketing team and with the production team and we see potential, we make focus group that with the Nielsen, for example, or any research agency. And as soon as we see a hope or a positive feedback, we start implementation. On the bakery segment, we have AMF. AMF is the biggest or one of the biggest bakery solution companies in the world. It's an American company. They are our main supplier, the same thing as Tetra Pak, but in the cheese sandwich. And they also do with us some sort of innovation meetings and offering new products that are there in other markets to introduce to the Egyptian market. And we also take it with the marketing to focus group. But the idea of the cheese sandwich in particular was my personal idea. And as I said, it was the idea to diversify to a snack business. I've seen the same story in Al Marai in Saudi Arabia. That they are a dairy company, and then they started the bakery segment, and then from the bakery segment they started the filled bakeries, pâtés, and then croissant, and then sandwich. So I said, okay, why not we take a step ahead from what Al Marai have done, so we don't go into bakery or don't go for plain bread, and we go directly to the cheese sandwich, given that we had the juice, so it's the same truck, the same distribution channel, and our cheese is inside, and our cheese is famous, so this could be something good. So we took it for research. The research was a 50-50, by the way, as I said. It was not very appealing for the consumer, but for some of the consumers, and from a financial point of view also, it was a bit tight when it comes to margin. But as I said, I took the decision and I said I will take that on my responsibility, and things went well.
And I see you always have this intention of having everything in-house, but will you ever consider collaborations? Like, if, for example, if you want to expand more in on the sandwich product, would you consider a collaboration with Rich Bake, مثلا?
Rich Bake is my main competitor now. He hates my guts.
مش لازم ريتش بيك as ريتش بيك بس I mean collaborating مع حد collaborating مع حد that would complete instead of reinventing the wheel.
I prefer to have everything done in-house.
In-house?
In Egypt. If I'm talking about having the same experience in outside of Egypt, regional, and of course that's also part of my ambitions. To go with this company with a regional operation, of course I cannot do it alone, and I don't have that kind of courage to go outside of Egypt alone. So of course at that point in time, of course I will be happy to collaborate with any multinational player, either in dairy or in bakery.
Okay, thank you and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. And noting that you are thinking of going outside of Egypt, you have a question from France. Louis, please go ahead.
France is my favorite country.
Thanks a lot. And thank you very much for your presentation. It was very insightful. I have a question regarding your distribution. You mentioned earlier that your distribution was one of the factors that gave you a competitive edge over your competitors. Could you comment just a little bit more on what for you are the main features of your supply chain that allow you to get this competitive edge over your competitors?
Sure. Our main competitor in the snacks business in general is Edita, Molto. They have filled croissant, which is 3-month shelf life. When you have a long shelf product, you depend on wholesale, and wholesale in Egypt is a big business. So Edita model in distribution is coming mainly from wholesale. More than 40 or 50% of their sales is coming from wholesale. They cannot replicate that in fresh product. They cannot sell a fresh product to wholesale because wholesale they don't have that kind of distribution, and they need more time to be there in the market. So our distribution and our supply chain is mainly driven by our own distribution fleet, our own distribution trucks, We increased our capacity in our trucks more than 3 or 4 times. So we are serving Cairo, for example, now with more than 180 cars, which is a very big number in terms of control and in terms of being able to control the drop size. And despite of the fact that I'm saying that we have a competitive advantage on that side, but we still have many room of improvement on this side, because the control of the operation of the cars in Egypt and the fleet in Egypt with the quality of the salesman is not that easy. So all companies always tend to escape that kind of model to long shelf products, to be able to just throw to the wholesale and make marketing and advertising, and the wholesale will take the lead in terms of distribution. So it's always hard to have your own distribution platform, to have cars that are going into the market at 7 a.m. in the morning, being there at the outlet or the kiosk the first, given that this is a fresh product, to be able to capture the consumer from the beginning of the day. So that's always the challenge, and that's the edge that I think we're having now over competition, yet we still have room for improvement on that.
All right. Thank you very much for your answer, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Hamza. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions, depending on the length of each question. So, Amr, please go ahead. Amr, I think. Amr first, yes.
Yes. First of all, thank you for your insightful presentation. I have one question regarding the innovation in Domty. You're always innovating in the products and their packaging from day one. So could you give us like a glimpse about your future plans for taking Domty to the next level? Like you think of shifting in the next couple of years, maybe like to Industry 4.0, which is a combo of technologies of process automation, IoT, big data analytics, to improve your operations and reduce your costs?
Okay, of course, that's a very smart question. Unfortunately, our eagerness as a company in expanding the portfolio of products is always preventing us to have enough funds to invest in the operational up-to-date technology. Of course, we have an up-to-date technology, but to have more, for example, robotic warehouses, to have more automation in terms of the sales, in terms of the production capacities. So hopefully in the next period, while we're having a good growth and good profitability, that we'll be able to expand more in the back area of the operation with the same rate that we have in terms of introducing new products in the market. The next big thing on the other side, it's still not decided yet. We have many initiatives on the table. Of course, everything is on hold now given the current situation, but we have many initiatives that could be there soon, inshallah, if things are going well. As I said, we still have room for expansion in the bakery and the snacks business with new flavors and new kind of packs, and within the same bakery / snacks category. So I think within the next year or year and a half, we'll be concentrating on that. We're not going into any new innovative products when it comes to the bakery segment. In terms of dairy and cheese, we're studying new flavors to be introduced in the Egyptian market. Also, new concepts when it comes to dairy and juices. Hopefully, things could go well, and this dilemma that we're living in right now to end as soon as possible, so to be the time to introduce these things.
Okay, thank you, and best of luck in this tough time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hamid. Thank you, Amr. Omar, please go ahead.
Of course, thank you for taking the time answering questions. I'll try to be as fast as possible. I just wanted to ask, how tough was it entering a family business like a fresh grad, and the struggles you had to face trying to take over, prove yourself, and studying, other than the incident of your uncle, of course, but because it's something I can relate to. And another question is, do you have any new markets you want to enter, new ideas you want to pitch for the future? I would be happy to learn about.
Sure. Family business is always tricky. I think having a father like mine was the only way that I could be successful, because he gave me all the support from day one. He believed in me. And he just had the confidence that I will make it. And if he was stubborn, if he was handling the control and he didn't want to leave control, I think I would have quit my job in the family business, and I've seen any other kind of job. So I think family business, it's all about the owner himself, or the chairman himself, or like my father. I think he gave me all the support possible, and I think I owe him a lot, because he gave me all the confidence in the world to control the business from a very, very, very young age. And I don't think that I could make the same, but he in the next generations. But he was really supportive, and in every aspect he was really supportive, and got my back in all the decisions I've made. But I owe him a lot for that. On the other level, as I said, we have many launches and many initiatives to be we're thinking of, either in the bakery segment or in the dairy and juice segment. But of course the time is not suitable right now to introduce, but hopefully after we get rid of this virus, hopefully things could get faster in terms of introducing new products.
Thank you so much. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Mohammed. Sadie, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for your time. This will be a very simple and short question. And I worked for some years in demand planning along with my financial analysis job. So it caught my attention when you said that the market growth was 20% in the white cheese business at some point in time. I was just wondering about this. How could you have a double-digit growth in the market for such a, I would say, a basic commodity, or something that it's not in the growth phase as a product? So I was just intrigued by
right. Three reasons for that. The first one, that when I started, or when I entered the company, the unbranded white cheese was 80% of the market. So with the increase in the health conscious of the consumer, we were grabbing the 20%, we're grabbing market share from the 80% of the unbranded all over the years. So now we are at 80-20, 80 branded, 20 unbranded. So we were eating from the unbranded white cheese. So all the cheese producers had a very decent growth coming from taking a market share from the unbranded. That's the reason number one. Reason number two is, as I said, the increase in the wages and salaries after the revolution increased the purchasing power. And of course, as I said, the people were not having enough money to get luxurious products, so they were getting more food, and white cheese was one of the main items. And third, that the white cheese is one of the cheapest sources of protein for the Egyptian consumer. So when the prices of meat and chicken and everything goes up, the cheese is a very affordable source of protein. And with the introduction, as I said, of new flavors and new SKUs, the smaller packs, 125, we've introduced also 80 grams. And with the change of the consumption habits of the consumer, these three factors made the white cheese market grow more than 25%. We had the CAGR growth of 20% from 2011 to 2015.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed, for your time. And we just have two final questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Ashraf, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. It's a pleasure again to meet you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's a pleasure again to meet you. Thank you for your time and for everything. Thank you for the takeaways. I have very quick questions. 2005, the deal of Americana didn't go well at the end of the deal. Can you kindly, if it's allowed, to tell us what happened, what went wrong at the end? One more thing, please. The cheese sandwich, it's a very good idea. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What about it's 7-8 days only fresh product? I will give you a quick insight. If you can think about it, it will be great. One of our friends, colleagues, Dr. Ihab in our MBA group, he told us he had the same challenge, and then they traveled together and thought about something more innovative. They said bacteria comes from air. What if we make a vacuum product to take out the air so that bacteria doesn't come inside? So does it work with you or no? One more thing. What about education at IE School of Business? I'm quite sure it is حمادة تاني خالص. Please confirm.
Okay, the deal of Americana, simple. At that point in time, we had a financial problem in the company. At that point in time, we had 2 factories. One of them was in high debt, and Americana was our only buyer. They pressured us a lot. They went down from the valuation of 170 million Egyptian pounds to 140 million. They kept us on hold for more than 10 months. And then one day, Mr. Safwan Sabit, the owner of Juhayna, called my father and told him, I want to take one of the factories which was on high debt as only machines and land with nothing to do with the brand and with a fair value. So we said to Americana that this deal is better for us, and you kept us for so much time, and you tried to be clever, and the deal went wrong because of that. You know, I think you're living in Kuwait, you know that Kuwaitis are a bit clever. That's why the deal of Americana did not go through at the end. On the other side, the short shelf life of the sandwich, I think, given that we are controlling the distribution quite well, I think we consider that a barrier of entry for for any competition. So if we're handling our distribution in the right way, the more you increase the shelf life, the easier it is for competition to enter. So we're happy with the shelf life like that, given that we're able to maintain our distribution as is. IE, not a different story. I'm a very loyal student to AUC. I was graduated in 2004, so that's 16 years now. My only concept is that I wanted to see what other universities, one of the top 20 in the world, what they study and what they do. So because as I said, I was graduated in 2004, even before the iPhone was invented, so that was too long. So far it's doing well, but I'm quite sure that AUC had improved quite well in the last years. I'm in contact with everybody there. And I'm quite sure that they are improving a lot, and they're offering not حمادة تاني خالص مش الدرجات.
No, with all respect and up to AUC. One more personal question, please.
Sure.
A very personal question. Do you have time for yourself? I find you quite busy with your life and work. Do you go for sports as an example?
No, ما فيش sports خلاص احنا قاعدين في الحظر. I don't have the of course the time for sports, but the MBA is 1.5 years, so hopefully I will be a bit free after 3 months. I'm not a sportsman, to be honest, so I can create some sort of 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours per week to play sports, but I'm a bit lazy.
Yeah, the idea is just خد بالك من نفسك. It's worth to take care of yourself by walking, by sports, by reading. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to see you soon, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you, Mohammed. Mohammed, the last question is from Hani Ladib, and again, thank you for your time, Mohammed.
Good evening, all. Hi, Mohammed B. Can you hear me out? Huh?
أهلا وسهلا.
أهلا وسهلا بك. طبعا thank you for the insightful presentation. It was very insightful. The journey, I like the journey, and I admired the whole story. Domty itself, it's something that all of us has to be proud of, like the Egyptian family business that went public. I know it's not an easy decision for a family business to go public. And I was watching closely, and I'm the head of acquisition in CIB, so I'm a banker. So I was watching the IPO closely. It was very, very successful. You managed it very well. Double-digit oversubscription. It was very, very successful. But make it a bit tougher nowadays because of I understand the tremendous pressure you are facing now from the investors in the COVID thing. So how do you manage the investors in your daily operations? And what are the key things that you're keen to look at every morning in the company's operations?
طبعا first of all the investors I need to be there, so we don't refuse any kind of investor calls right now. So whether I take it the CFO, the investor relation, the CEO of commercial sector, we're open to be there with the investors because we appreciate and we respect that they are worried about the business and worried about the operation in this tough time. So we're handling that quietly and we're taking everything on our shoulders, and we're, as Hani said at the beginning, I'm the kind of person that I don't run, I don't disappear. So we're always there for investors, and we're taking calls nearly on a daily basis now, and even two or three calls per day. What I'm looking at the operation right now, the normal things, but with more detailed figures on the sales and on the production and on the number of workers there in the factory and the procedures that is there. And I used to look at the sales report on a daily basis, but in a broad manner. Now I go more into details. I used to look at the production of the factory on a weekly basis. Now I look at the production on a daily basis. The number of workers, I used to see that once every month. Now I see it once every day. Also I look at the supply of the inventory, any delay of in the supply of the raw materials. We're having a WhatsApp group for the procurement, saying any delays on the milk powder or the Tetra Pak packaging material or anything. We're up to date with that on a daily basis. Also all the procedures that has to do with the transportation of the workers, all the precautions that we're trying to take in the factory or in our branches with the masks and the gloves or whatever. So all of these things I'm looking at on a daily basis now.
Thank you very much. ربنا يكون في العون.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. And with that, I'm going to give the floor to Sherwat just to say some concluding remarks. And thank you tremendously. Again, I think everyone has been so inspired, and I think they are looking so much up to you, inshallah, to repeat your experience. And wish you all success, Mohammed, always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sherwat,
thank you, Hani, and definitely yes, thank you. Mohammed, we were really inspired by your talk. Thank you for the time. You're taking your time answering the questions, and an amazing example of leadership within a family business, taking it to public offering, طبعا, which began the whole things that it takes to make such a transformation, guts, everything you faced in your family, surviving a revolution, devaluation. Hopefully this one too, you'll persevere. Maybe it has to do with your being a proud revolution, right? Two revolution, صحيح. And it has to do طبعا زي ما انت قلت, being a proud alumni. It's in your character, whatever it is. And I'm happy طبعا you're studying management studies and keeping you updated wherever you are is important because of the change in pace. انت قلت الموبايل ما كانش موجود, دلوقتي برضو analytics والbig data برضو is changing. So definitely keeping up with management studies is something that we encourage all alumni and current students in both programs, executive MBA and MBA, to stay on their toes and to stay in touch with us for lovely talks like this. بجد this is part of their lifelong relationship with the School of Business, I have to say. برضو music to my ears, and I don't know if you all noticed the whole thing shifted to a purely supply chain. معلش هاني جنينا it easily be in my classroom 2 hours ago, and on Sunday, Wednesday, Louis, actually from France, is in my class, and he can tell you how relevant the distribution, the capacity, the sourcing, the procurement issues are discussed day to day in our class. So thank you for complementing a big part of who I am as a director/professor of supply chain management. I want to thank you very much. If there's one thing I have to say about the occasion, diversity in your offering is, I think it's what's allowing you to be so calm and with us today. You mix between snack and, and the cheese, and you mentioned the 70-30% of your offerings allow you to, when things go bad in one area, to have resilience in another and sustainability. But maybe that's why we are so happy to have you here with us talking confidently about the situation. Maybe a message that can be shared with a lot of other managers dealing with future threats and risk for resilience in their supply chains and their operations. We learned a lot. We especially learned that Sarah likes the chocolate sandwich, and we have to promise her to bring it back. So other than
the
that,
chocolate sandwich is there. The choco spread.
All right. So you'll try this. We all have to try the chocolate sandwich. This is something very important. And thank you very much, Begad, for your generosity and your candid. You're very candid in the way you discuss things, and we're very happy to have you with us. Many more to come, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.